Welcome. This is Unit 3, Expressions, Equations, and Inequalities, which is my favorite. First of all, I think they're really fun. To me, equations are kind of like a puzzle, and I really enjoy solving puzzles and doing things like that. And it's also like the foundation of the rest of math. From here on out, we're going to be using like lots of equations, and then the higher up in math you go, they obviously get more complicated as you get older. So we're just going to start and figure out how to solve them. Just nothing too crazy, just a little bit crazy. How about that? So this first page has your kind of table of contents. So all the things we're going to do this unit / this quarter. It's a long one, but I printed one big unit rather than breaking them up into tiny ones. So those are all one. So it can basically be broken down into 3 chunks, but we'll get to that later. But if you like to look ahead, you can see what's coming. Here is our proficiency scale, so our levels when we check in. You can read over them on your own. Remember that level 3 is the goal. So this top row is mostly about expressions. Okay, so you can combine terms, factor, and distribute. And then you can read the levels below it on your own if you want. And this standard is all about equations and inequalities. And our goal is to be able to write an equation or inequality from a word problem. So, real life stuff. And then here we'll come back to this later when we start doing the word problem one. We're going to fill out this reference page. There's 2 of them. About when you read a word problems, what does this mean mathematically? That's kind of it. All right, but the main point of this video is to get to our notes. This page, here we go. I had it mixed up. So this one, it might be kind of long because we're going to go over some vocab, but it's more of an interactive vocab because there's actually good examples of these things. Okay. So, we're going to say that I can identify parts of an expression. And guys, knock on wood, I think that I finally have our I can statements able to fit in one line this unit. So, go me. Okay, so an expression is numbers, variables, and operators grouped together. So it can be just numbers, it could be just variables. Then operators are things like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Okay, so an example would be 5x plus 3. That's why you guys write in pencil. My bad. Okay, so here we have numbers, we have a variable, we have a plus. Remember that 5x means 5 times x. Okay, so that's an expression. An equation says that 2 things are equal. Right, and we can kind of tell from our base word, right, this has a EQU An equation also starts with that. So you can see how they're kind of related. Okay, so an example would be like 5x plus 3 equals 18. An inequality is like an equation, but it says that two things are not quite equal. So like greater than or less than. Okay. So an inequality would be 5x plus 3 is greater than 18. Because they're not equal, one's bigger. Okay. So what I want to focus on today are really this stuff down here. Okay, so a term is a part of an expression that's separated by addition or subtraction. Okay. So in our same example of 5x plus 3, 5x is one term and 3 is a different term because they were separated by addition. So a variable is a symbol. We usually use a letter that represents an unknown value. So we're using that letter to hold the place of a number that we don't know. So in the same example, 5x plus 3, x is the variable. And it can be any letter. Sometimes you even use Greek letters. But we won't get into that. I won't make you learn a different alphabet. Don't worry. Okay. A constant is a number without a variable. That's being added or subtracted. In an expression. So in our 5x plus 3, we're adding 3. It's not attached to a letter. So 3 is my constant. It does not change. Okay. Your coefficient is the value or the number multiplying the variable. So in 5x plus 3, 5 is your coefficient because this is 5 times x. So the coefficient is going to be the number that's like right next to the letter and they're attached. And then like terms are terms with the same variable. And then also constants are like terms with other constants. So y and 3y would be like terms because they both have a y. You could have 7 and negative 1.2, right? Those are both just numbers without a variable, so they are like terms with each other. All right, I know that was a lot of writing. I'm sorry, but lots of different things to know. Really focusing on this part. The practice on the other side of this page is going to focus on identifying how many terms there are, what are like terms, stuff like that. So go ahead and flip it over and try it on your own.